Mislim, può essere che avete anche ministro storico, io abita in metafrasi, proprio poi io da torna dove passo, to sono sopprime che la paga metafica. Good evening, President Hayrenagister, iyi akşamlar. I'm always happy to return to my birthplace, and I thank you, Avram, for most personally, and CYPRUS PEN for inviting me. I've come from London to be here with you in Cyprus by Chaotic Chrysalis. 3 words: woman, art, society, are 3 underground rivers running through my life. My one idea: escape. The plot: you're just a girl, you're going to be married off one day. My question: how can we each grow and help our sisters struggling in their straitjackets, prisons, and sometimes being killed just for being women? How can we use our best talents to lift the crystal ceiling? So let's start with the first stage of the butterfly's life, the pupa. One of my earliest memories is finding a hideaway. My mother, searching the house for her little daughter to help in the kitchen, finds me in the coolest spot. In our old-fashioned bathroom, I sat under a tap which dripped cool water onto the back of my neck as I read my Mary Mouse books. I hid in the laundry basket if it was not too smelly, and up an almond tree. My chosen world: books, books, and more books. The pupa would outgrow its skin. I was born into an Armenian family, as Lily said, which escaped the Young Turks massacres. From Aitam, Kayseri, my grandparents sought refuge under the British flag. But they brought with them age-old agonies, traumas, and persecution, and one little goal they could hide. None had been permitted to speak Armenian. The women had avoided showing their faces on the street. But why were Islamic rules still oppressing me in Cyprus? Don't speak before your elders. Cover your knees. Respect your elder brother. Why are you wearing shorts? My parents were hardworking and modern. They sent us to the junior school, but the expectation was, you will grow up and we will choose a husband for you. The Elka movement had taken off with a blast. Demonstrations, protests, leaflets, curfew hours, bombs went off, torture and hangings. Greek and Turkish Cypriots lived peacefully together until then, but were suddenly cruelly set against each other. I say, grandmother, how can you have Turkish friends after what they've done to you? These are Turkish Cypriots, my dear. They did nothing to harm us. But father employed 30 Turkish Cypriot and Greek Cypriots in his factory. But who are we, the Armenians? Never a word in our geography or history lessons at school, though we totaled 60% of the class. I felt we did not exist. The world was not safe. Yet only we Armenians spoke all 4 languages of the island. Parts of the caterpillar drop off and turn into wings, metamorphosis. Boarding school in England, London University degree in philosophy, all resisted by my parents but generously provided. Oh, to be in a country where you are not recognized and measured only by what you can do. My mission: to understand contemporary music and communicate it to others. My only training? Years of playing piano and studying music on my own. I interviewed leading composers: Boulez, Berlioz, Stockhausen, Xenakis. I was writing a linguistic analysis, embracing all musics, and finally, overwhelmed by the power of Xenakis' music, I focused on him for biography. He was ostracized. Oh, forget Xenakis. He's not a real composer, just an engineer. He won't even talk to you. his insistence on the connection between music and mathematics, and architecture, arts, the sciences and technology was exciting and forward-looking. Xenakis took me to heart. You understand and love my music. You speak Greek Cypriot like the ancients. You are Armenian, massacred and driven out by the Turks, like my family in Asia Minor. My lack of knowledge became an advantage. One of the greatest minds of the century became my interlocutor, teacher, for the next 10 years, not just in music, but in life. He gave me the studio key to rifle through his sketches and scores, to puzzle and ask questions while he worked. His wife and family adopted me. Deep in this most radical vortex of music, he was the most avant-garde of the 60s and 70s. His basic genetic formation, classical Greek learning and attitude, to the majority, it was incomprehensible. But I viewed him through our shared prism of Greek culture, his mathematical inclination, his need for finding the substitute for the mother that he had lost aged 7, his anti-Nazi protest years, the loss of an eye by British bombing, his homeland lost at 23, sentenced to death and escape. You are what you do. This was Xenakis' way of being, an unsung hero. It never occurred to me that being female was a disadvantage. He had buried his traumatic childhood, injuries, protest years deep into his music. He encouraged me, keep your own perspective, think independently. The unexpected success of the book and his enthusiasm for it touched me. He said, people understand me better for it now. He agreed to make a documentary film with the BBC. We took him to Spezies, his old school, Mykines, and of course Paris, screening the war period, configurations in nature and chaos theory. The film became a visual counterpart to my book. You write your first book for the outside world, and your second book for the world inside yourself. The butterfly dries its wings, ready to fly and flaunt its colors. Meanwhile, I married Rothgeil Ha, a composer, inventor, and collaborator of Karl Stockhausen. He composed and designed cutting-edge music and space installations at Berlin and Centre Pompidou in Paris. Our relationship was based on music and composing. I went to mime school in Paris. We had 2 boys. I felt ready to tackle another peak, which I had discovered as a teenager in the Tate in London. Another epiphany for me, but in art this time. I knew nothing about him, but when I first saw his paintings, for me, I knew straight away that this was an Armenian, a world-class artist unknown to us. Ashwin Gorky had changed his name from Manuk Adoyan to hide his traumatic history during the Armenian genocide. Gorky, too, transformed himself through his painting, reinvented modern art. He surpassed his fellow artists, leading the abstract expressionist movement. Here was someone who had lost his childhood paradise, seen his mother starved to death, walked hundreds of miles across burning country from Van to Armenia under attack. 3 years later, the teenager arrived in New York. From an ancient culture, he brought with him values and a visual armory of mountains, lakes, Armenian manuscripts, colorful textiles, which underpinned his imagery and discipline. Society had built a smokescreen around Gorky, obliging him to distort himself to be accepted. For 30 years, I tracked down his blood relatives, friends, artists who had even known him as Manuk. His gorgeous paintings in museums and letters in private collections all over the world. I dived into the horrors of our agonizing genocide history. Once again, the Armenian was airbrushed out, an outstanding artist labeled in museums as Georgian, adopted a famous name, but but was actually a crypto-Armenian. Why did he have to hide? Unravel the story, and his life is an epic of courage and survival. As a boy, he risked death in the desperate defense of Van Armenians against Turkish and German soldiers. But in America, he was just another starving Armenian. He needed respect to become an artist and gain it. But why did he commit suicide when his wife and children left him after a colostomy and a car accident? Xenakis' wife had stuck by him, and Gorkis had abandoned him. Was there a lesson here for me? How does a little woman live with a husband whose first love is his work? Does it call for sacrifice? Walking away like Alma Mahler or Maguch Gorky? Or is there another way? To steer her ship, work just as passionately. Françoise Xenakis taught me. Her husband had literally tied her to a chair to help her to write, and she published over 20 books. Armenia had become independent in 1991 when I volunteered as a cultural attaché to the new embassy in London for 10 years. My route was through the arts, at which we excelled. Instead of a book talk at the Royal College of Art, I needed a new form. Gorky's sister, sweetheart, wife, and other women had given me their stories. We invented a one-woman show with images, starting with Gorky's mother, each woman narrating her viewpoint, spanned Gorky's life and death. I taught 100 shows around the world in different languages. It's one of the most satisfying projects I have ever done. It brought me close to my people. At book signings afterwards, they whispered reactions, prayers, feelings, and even, "Thank you, I've never seen my husband cry." They reaffirmed for me that it is not technique which wins people over, but simplicity. The century-old taboo Turkey had imposed on films about the Armenian massacres was smashed with the movie Ararat, also screened here in Cyprus. The award winner, Canadian Armenian Atom Egoyan, optioned the book and obtained my permission to model the female protagonist on me, played by Asne Khanjian, his wife. After 2 books, 2 films and stage shows, 2 boys grown into men, my grandparents' past caught up with me. Their traumas and displacement were echoed in my father losing his self-made business in 1974, an important almond wool cotton factory, to the Turkish invasion. His courage facing these losses impresses me more as I gain years. After 1 generation, our surviving community again lost homes, businesses, our only church in Nicosia, Famagusta, our only monastery in Halefkaya, cruelly razed to the ground by Turkish authorities. Father had discouraged me from going to Turkey, but I had to research Gorky. How did the vanishing Armenian population survive as second-class citizens? Pretend Turks in a country where to call someone an Armenian was the choicest insult. But I met an exceptional man at the Cannes film premiere of Ararat, who changed my way of thinking. Ratti, editor of an Armenian Turkish paper, Agos, instead of hiding, he said, we should open up to the Turks, show them who we are, invite them to understand our true history, and let them judge for themselves. He was charged 3 times with Article 301 for insulting Turkishness. English Pen went into action, but he was gunned down in midday 2007. I had fortunately filmed our precious talks. I cut short a documentary with Turkish friends. Our own Martin Luther King had died, but his legacy lives on and grows. My great escape, to To sum up, I have been fortunate in knowing and working with many artists who had a profound influence and opened up my horizons. My butterfly mind landed on beautiful flowers with precious nectar. Reflecting on this talk awoke in me the unconscious patterns of chance, coincidence, bonds which are often triggered by the clash and harmony of different cultures. I am grateful for all the exciting opportunities thanks to being born and brought up in Cyprus. With its humane sensibility, devoted families and warm society, special care for children and the aged, particularly of involved, accomplished women, its ancient civilization, natural beauty, all of this I absorbed as a child, enabling me to become a citizen of the world. Cyprus has a place in my heart. My chaotic chrysalis proved rich and multicolored beyond my hopes and imagination, as it will be for generations of women to come. You who know your true worth and wisdom, we know that we are here, not in competition, but with and for one another. Each woman's success forges a path for the next and the next,